Coming up on this episode of the Open Alliance Show, we're joined by 2491 NoMythic coming out of Minnesota. NoMythic's going to dive into quite a few things that you really should pay attention to. Of course, their CAD that's on screen right now, what they've been doing from Crayola CAD and how they're implementing it. We're going to be showing off some really cool prototypes that they have as well too, talking about how they're approaching their build season from kickoff, that concept, strategy, and design, all the way through their entire season. Let's find out more here on the Open Alliance Show. This video on fun is brought to you by viewers like you and also in partnership with the following. Discover how Kettering University students engineer their success with Kettering's amazing co-op employment programs where students earn great pay and gain valuable experience. Those accepted into Kettering University can apply for a robotics scholarship, providing up to an additional $5,000 a year in tuition assistance. Head on over to kettering.edu/first to learn more and apply. And we're joined on the Open Alliance Show by 2491 NoMythic coming out of Minnesota, a team that I actually have a long history with. So excited to see NoMythic on air talking about their current build season progress here on the Open Alliance Show. We got four amazing students who are going to tell us more about it. So if you don't mind, students, can you introduce yourselves? Let us know what you do on the team.
Hey there, my name's Liam. I use he, him pronouns. And I am the team captain here on 2491.
Hello everyone, my name is Rasmus. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the design captain on NoMythic.
Hello, I'm Rowan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the programming captain on 2491 NoMythic.
Hi, I'm Clover. I use they, them pronouns, and I am production captain on Build.
So here on NoMythic, we are a bunch of very passionate young people. So right the second we got a kickoff, we were like super hyped to see the game. We think it's gonna be a phenomenal game. It looks like a lot of fun. Our team particularly enjoys shooter type games, so that's exciting. As you can see on the screen, these are just a couple of photos from kickoff. Immediately we dive into it. We do something called the Robot Paper Game, or the RPG, which is a board game that we do on paper. And we kind of make it, we have a framework, and then we put in the numbers after the game is released. And then we roll some dice, we play some role play, and we kind of figure out what strategies work and what strategies don't work. So that is kind of how we start our season. Then after that, we just dive straight into prototyping. So I'm going to play a couple of prototype videos. This is one of my personal favorites. It's of me, ironically. But this is the intake, which we actually have right now. Do you want to go over that right now?
Sure.
Yeah. So for our intake, we decided to go for a horizontal dual system intake, or dual roller intake. So we initially started with a more sort of angled system, but as you can see, these two bars are horizontal to each other. And this allows for a double-sided intake.
We're going to go ahead and show it how it works.
Oh, is it no directional line?
Yeah, so the nice thing about this intake as well is that we can spit game pieces out or intake them, which is very helpful to not control multiple game pieces at once. That was one thing that we were a little bit concerned about with going under the bumper intake. So, yeah. So right now we're intaking up into the robot. So here we go. Now you can do it from the other side. Yeah, gonna do it this way.
Obviously, there is still some missing weight here. We aren't pressing down on it, but it seems to work really well from both sides. It's just regular line wheels.
Yeah, and now let's show just sort of going through. So, Clover, if you'd be able to switch your direction, and then run. So, like that, I can go really nicely, just straight through it, which would be very helpful on the field so that we don't control multiple game pieces.
So we can just drive right over them.
Yeah.
No, I love the demonstration of it. So really appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about the intake wheels that you've been looking at using. Which ones are you using now? Have you tried any different ones in your experimentation process so far?
Yeah. So we initially started with a 1.5-inch Versa roller, and that seemed to work well. It wasn't the fastest, and it took a second before intaking. So right now we're using the 2-inch compliant wheels, and those seem to work pretty well and seem to work pretty fast. Yeah.
Very cool. How about from anything else from mechanisms right now? What are you looking at prototyping? Where's your current progress on physical attributes of the robot?
So one of the things we're actually working on is a shooter video, and this is actually fresh off the press from today.
Yeah, and
Sorry, do you want to add something?
oh no.
This is one of the shooter prototypes we're working on. We're trying to get it to go as flat and as stable as possible. One of the things we really tried to work on this year is being able to do as much CAD as we can while also prototyping a little bit at the same time.
So this year, we decided to use a new sort of tool that was released on Chief Delphi called Crayola CAD. And so this was sort of our robot concept. So last Saturday, a week after kickoff, so after we did some initial prototyping, seeing what works, we went in and sort of decided on what types of systems we're going with. So here's the sort of rough Crayola CAD that we've created. So let's just sort of quick walk through what we're doing here. So under the bumper, this is all under the robot. And so we have our intake right here. And so that's the 2 rollers we were sort of showing before. Additionally, we decided that some brushes might be helpful to bring game pieces into there, especially if a game piece is up against a wall. We want to make sure that we can grab a game piece wherever it is. And that'll help bring it into the intake. And then from there, it'll go up and go into sort of our indexing system as it goes into our shooter. So our shooter, we decided to go with a bottom pivot type system. So with that, our whole shooter pivots up and down. And so the idea is a note will come from the intake, go into the shooter, where it'll be stored, and then when we're ready to shoot, we can shoot. And this shooter is set up so that we can shoot basically anywhere that we can legally shoot on the field. Additionally, it can go towards the back of the robot where we can score on the amp. So we're still testing those geometries, but we're looking at going backwards and then scoring into the amp up here. So the amp spot would be right over here.
Are you looking at having some different contact points in as that? I know you say you're still going through the testing on there, but when you look at going from your intake into that hopper shooter type area, where do you maybe imagine some other contact points being as you kind of get to your delivery system for your shooter?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that isn't in here is that we'll have a top plate on here, just to sort of keep the game piece nice and secured in there. And then with that, we're thinking of putting some rollers towards the bottom of that shooter plate, or on the top and bottom, which the top is not shown in this CAD model. We haven't tested that yet, but we're thinking that would be a great spot to just sort of hold our game piece and then spit it out.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to go to the bottom of your robot real quick again. And we saw where that intake was. You mentioned something about like brushes, something in front, but what is that roller-looking piece right there that you're highlighting?
Yeah, so that would be one of the brushes. It's not the best representation right now, but it's just sort of something to agitate the game pieces and get them moving towards the center of our robot, towards our intake.
Last thing I want to ask you, and then if there's anything else on CAD you can go through, once again, looking from design strategy standpoint of things, what made you want to choose a going inside the robot type intake versus maybe a drop down or a wider intake or anything like that at all? When you're analyzing the game, why was this the best fit for NoMythic?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that our robot was very safe, that we didn't break going out of the bumper. And so in the past, we've had struggles with going over the bumper and then getting our intake broken. And plus, going under the bumper seemed like a very sort of simple solution. And especially after some prototypes, we thought that it seemed simple enough to implement. And so that was a huge factor. Additionally, with being able to go right under the bumper very easily is something we really liked.
Cool. What are next steps for you from a CAD perspective? You mentioned you're doing the Crayola CAD type thing. So are you looking at, I'm assuming, getting a little bit more in depth and detail as you go through this CAD process? What are kind of the immediate next steps for you, though?
Yeah, so what we're working on right now is our geometry. So we're looking at where exactly we want our pivot for our shooter, how far the intake is off the ground and off from the bumper, and just sort of some general geometry, seeing where everything fits in the robot.
Actually, this is getting into some schedule stuff. Clover, do you want to go over the schedule?
Well, yeah, sure. So day one after kickoff, we started prototyping actually immediately, and that was something we did immediately. And so we've been prototyping for the past week or so, and this week we're hoping to get our drivetrain done and like a good idea of what our base is going to be. Next week, we're hopefully going to have our design freeze. So we're going to have just what we have as our design is what we're going to go forward in, so we don't get like too behind schedule. And then week 4, we're going to hopefully have a finished practice bot. We are setting very strict deadlines this year because it is something we've definitely struggled with in the past. Week 5, we're going to have a practice bot build freeze. So what is on the practice bot is on the practice bot for Duluth, and Duluth is going to be our first competition.
Do you want to talk a little bit about practice bot, comp bot?
Yeah, so we do 2 bots every year. So we have practice bot and comp bot. And so we do that so build can have a robot as well as programming can have a robot. And then programming can have a robot and drivetrain can have a robot. Everyone wants the robot, so it's easier to have 2 robots than 1. It's also really great to have a rough draft to see how things are looking and how things are working, or if it is totally not working at all. So week 5, it'll be freezed. On week 6, hopefully our comp bot, we're freezing on that, and whatever is done on week 6, build can't touch it. And so we're going to hand it over to programming, and programming will have it from there on, probably with some drivetrain as well.
So you mentioned handing it over programming, but is there things that programming is working on right now that you can fill us in, or maybe from some objectives and what they're looking at doing both in auto and teleop?
Yeah, absolutely. So our biggest programming goals this year, there's 3 main ones. One is to automatically aim and shoot accurately at the speaker, so that the driver doesn't have to line up and do that. Another is a 4-piece auto, so an auto that will score 4 game pieces. And the last is to use 2 different line lights on the robot to see the able tags and get the most accurate position that we can. So those 3 things are really big projects for programming and things that we have not done before in past years. And so we have started working on those right away. We have our drivetrains from previous years, and we've been working on creating autos and automatically aiming with those drivetrains. And we can also start filling out the skeleton for the rest of our code based on what Build has told us from the prototyping so far.
I'm glad you mentioned that you're able to work on some things, because usually when I hear we'll hand it off the programming and it's week 5 or week 6, that tends to be a little bit of a red flag sometimes. So I'm glad that you're able to get some things done with that. And tell us about what you're bringing up on screen right now.
So what I'm bringing up on screen right now is our current drivetrain. So if you take a look, we actually have MK4II. So we bought MK4Is, and then this year we wanted to go under. We wanted to have the game pieces go under the bumper. So to do that, we actually had to flip the motors upside down, and so now we have MK4I squares. So that is what we call them here on NoMythic. So what was really impressive by programming this year is we actually swapped out our swerve modules, flipped them, and rewired them all in the same day, and actually got it working. So huge props to programming. We're really working on getting that going. But as you can see in this video, it can very easily go over a game piece. One of the things we're hoping to do there is actually have some sort of wheel protection so that the game piece, if you're moving the robot forward, the game piece will slide in even if it's not perfectly on tact, and we won't be driving over it like that.
And another thing with that is we wanted to go with a small robot this year. So from a strategy perspective, we want it to be very small. So that's going underneath the stage. And additionally, we want it to be small frame size. So our actual frame is 26 by 26. So to be able to fit one of the notes underneath the robot with the small frame size, we decided that flipping the motors was a necessity there. So that was another huge driving factor.
Well, NoMythic, as we start to wrap up on it, any other future things that you want to bring up with your team? And, of course, tell us where we can find out more and follow your build season progress as well.
So one of the things, if you take a look on the screen, you will see one of our old robots. This is from 2022. This is part of the reason why we have a practice bot and a comp bot. It's because we get our competition bot anodized. So if you see us at a competition, you will see, hopefully, crossing our fingers, a bright purple and black robot. It'll be seen from across the field. We're hoping to do tie-dye bumpers for custom bumpers this year for practice matches and so on. Other than that, we're hoping to be one of the best robots on the field at Duluth and really kill the competition this year.
By the way, I think you should use tie-dye bumpers during the match. Tell Yoji I said it was okay, and you should go ahead and do it. So. But NoMythic, thank you so much for taking the time to showcase your robot on your team. We're really looking forward to seeing more of your build season progress as it goes through. We're going to have you back on in just a few short weeks as well, too. But make sure you go check out their build blog on Chief Dolphin, all the great things that they have going on. Once again, $24.91 NoMythic. Thanks a lot, and good luck the rest of the build season. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
This video on fun is brought to you by viewers like you and also in partnership with the following. Discover how Kettering University students engineered their success with Kettering's amazing co-op employment programs where students earn great pay and gain valuable experience. Those accepted into Kettering University can apply for a robotics scholarship, providing up to an additional $5,000 a year in tuition assistance. Head on over to kettering.edu/first to learn more and apply. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.